Hey, how's it going, guys? We are back with another reaction video. We're going to be checking out Denmark Explained. Is it the happiest in the world? By the channel Countries Explained. So I'm just going to jump right into it, and we're going to find out, is Denmark the happiest in the world? I don't know. I thought Netherlands children were the happiest. So maybe Denmark people, once they grow up, maybe they move to Denmark. Who knows? No, but let's find out.
Today. Our mission is to provide you with amazing facts and knowledge from every single country in the world. Each video will cover a unique country, and we're giving you one episode on a weekly basis, because, you know, time and stuff. But hey, maybe one day we're doing this thing full time and can pump out videos on a daily basis. Let's see what happens, yeah? We honestly couldn't decide what country to start with. Sure, we could have gone alphabetically, but that kind of felt like something you do in 2006, right? Or we could have gone with the largest by population or something similar.
Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea.
Anyways, we decided to just put a big map on the wall, chew on a piece of paper, and shoot it through a straw.
Did they?
Where the wet paper landed,
Is that how they did it, though?
that's the country we're starting with, and as you already know by the title of this video, we hit Denmark with the wet, pulp-like piece of paper. Which, if you think about it, is kind of weird since it's one of the smaller countries on the map. But hey, paper does fly in mysterious ways. But let's not waste any more time here and instead jump straight into our very first video. Denmark, it's your time to shine.
Well, I will say for their first video, Countries Explained, good job. You guys got some good production quality on that, like decent. Also, guys, links to the original video will be in the description section down below as always.
So we're starting off with a segment we'd like to call Quick Country Overview. Not too shabby of a segment title, right? Denmark is attached directly to the continent of Europe, where it's one of the smaller countries with an area of 43,095 kilometers squared. However, the Kingdom of Denmark also includes the Faroe Islands as well as the island of Greenland, bumping the area up to a significant larger size of 2,210,570.
Denmark owns Iceland or Greenland? Huh. The kingdom, very interesting. I did not know that. That is cool. That is very, for such a small country. That's, I mean, wow.
9 kilometers squared. Denmark is also a part of Scandinavia, which commonly is the term used for Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, while the term the Nordics also includes Finland, Iceland, and their associated territories such as Greenland, Faroe Islands, and Åland.
Åland.
Yeah, try to say it yourself. It's not easy. Denmark is connected to Europe via its only on-land neighbor, Germany. All the other borders are maritime, with Norway and Sweden to the north and United Kingdom on the very far west, all the way across the North Sea. On the opposite of Denmark, being the east side, we have the Baltic Sea, and in between these, we have 3 passages, which is called, named from west to east, Skagerrak, Kattegat, and the Sound, or actually it's called
the Sound.
But my Danish probably isn't on point here. The population of Denmark is around 5,800,000, which ranks them pretty far down on the list of countries and dependent territories by population. And we can spot Denmark first at number 115 on this list that consists of 235 countries and territories. Danish, or dansk, is the official language, and its closest relative is Norwegian, which is spoken in Norway, but most educated Danes do speak a second language as well, particularly English, but languages such as Turkish, Arabic, and German are also spoken at some scale, as well as a few other minority languages spoken mostly by members of the country's various ethnic groups. The official religion of Denmark is Evangelical Lutheran, but the country practices religious freedom, even though an overwhelming majority of Danes, about 85% of them, remained members of the state church called Folkekirken. But other than that, you'll find Jewish synagogues, mosques, and Roman Catholic churches around the country. The flag of Denmark is called Dannebrogen.
Dannebrogen. I do know that the Scandinavian, like the Nordic countries, they all have that cross on there. I'm not quite sure why. I think it was covered in another video that I did a reaction to, but I can't remember for sure. Let me know actually if you know what that is about.
and it's red with a typical Scandinavian white cross that extends all the way to its edges. And
Yep,
the Danes
typical
have taken pride
Scandinavian
in their
cross.
flag for a very long time. In fact, it's the oldest continuously used national flag in the world, dating back to the 15th of June, 1219. So what's the history of this country? Let's jump into our history segment and find out. Since the end of the last ice age, people have been migrating from the eastern and southern parts of Europe to the northern area, a place which today includes Denmark. The rich soil, closeness to water, and terrain has ever since helped shape Danish history and culture. One of the most notorious periods in Danish history is the Age of the Vikings. It began around 793 AD, with the raid on the English title island of Lindisfarne. The Viking Age lasted for about 250 years.
That's it?
Under it,
250 years, that's it? I could have swore, like, you would just thought, it just seems like Vikings were a bigger deal, like they made a bigger impact, right? I mean, 250 years, I would have thought it was double.
Danish Vikings were quite victorious under their time. One Viking in particular, called Sven Sukik, or Sven Forkbeard, if translated freely, and his son, Canute de Stoa, which translates to something like Canute the Great, were once kings of Denmark, Norway, southern Sweden, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, Shetland, Orkney, and parts of England. Now that's a handful to keep track of. Then came Christianity. And
now, why did they skip over right here?
That's a handful.
This part. What was that? Is that Iceland there? Right? And then Greenland's up there? Yeah, I don't know. This one, I get Iceland and Greenland confused. I apologize for that, but yeah.
Full to keep track of. Then came Christianity. In 965 AD, the Danish king Harald Bluetooth, yes, we know, that translation is amazing, and he was way ahead of his time with that
Bluetooth,
name, got baptized, and the Christian religion became a big part of the Danish society. However, it didn't turn the once so brutal Danes into a people filled with peace and harmony just yet. They continued to fight to maintain and expand their lands a few hundred years more. The next major part in Danish history came in 1397 with the Kalmar Union that brought the kingdoms of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden together under a single monarch under the leadership of Queen Margaret I. This peaceful union lasted until the year 1523 when Sweden decided to break out of it. And this was the starting point of a long rivalry between Sweden and Denmark. In the end, Denmark lost the war to Sweden, who took over the parts that today is southern Sweden. This loss was one that really made Denmark into the country it is today. They introduced hereditary and absolute monarchy in the country, and it helped them form the strong, well-organized state it is today. In World War I, Denmark remained neutral, and after the war, their economy started to evolve, all until April 9, 1940, when the still neutral Denmark was invaded by German troops. Overwhelmed by the German war machine, the country got occupied for 5 years under the Nazis.
Dang.
But the light returned to the Danish people. On May 5, 1945, Denmark was free from the German occupation, all thanks to the Grand Alliance, which consisted of the UK, US, and the Soviet Union. Denmark's economy started to flourish again, and they became more and more internationally involved with increased exports of design goods, furniture, bacon, and butter.
Bacon.
Today, Denmark
Shout out bacon. Come on. That is amazing.
is a constitutional monarchy ruled by a representative democracy and a strong defender of free trade and human rights. So now you learned everything you need to know about the history of Denmark. So give Countries Explained some credit on your next essay, will ya? Now, let's go over some of those fun, interesting facts that you have all been waiting for here in our next segment. The Danish language has no word for please. Danish people simply think that helping another person out is just something you do, and therefore, you should not have to beg for it. I kind of like that, to be honest.
That's cool.
Speaking of the Danish language, they do have another pretty remarkable word in there, though. It's called Hygge, and it's basically a word for that cozy feeling of togetherness. The Danish pastry is actually from Austria. Most of us have heard.
Excuse me now?
The Danish pastry is actually from Austria.
Did you know that? What? How? Okay. All right. I'm learning a lot here, guys.
Most of us have heard about the Danish pastry called WIENERBRØD or Danishes. However, most of us don't know that these are actually from some Austrian bakers that settled themselves in Denmark in the 1840s. Also, this is why it's called
Interesting.
Wienerbröd, or Viennese bread from Vienna. The two oldest amusement parks in the world are in Denmark.
Really?
Rockin, which is just outside of Copenhagen, is the oldest in the world, and the second oldest is called Tivoli Garden.
Since
Outside of Copenhagen is the
1583. Jeez, I didn't know they even had theme parks and amusement parks back then. Holy crap.
oldest in the world, and the second oldest is called Tivoli Gardens and is based right in the middle of the capital.
I feel like I've heard of that one, Tivoli Gardens. Yeah. And that's only 1843. Wow, the other one's been there for 340 years beforehand. That's crazy.
Lego
Rockin'.
is from Denmark.
Yep.
We all love it. I don't even care if you say no. I know you love it. Lego is amazing, period. And it was invented by the Danish guy Ole Kurt Christensen in the town of Billund in 1949.
Billund,
No matter where you're at in Denmark, there is a maximum of 52 kilometers to the ocean. So if you want an ocean view,
How far?
maximum of 52 kilometers.
32.3 miles. So you're never any longer than 32.3 miles from the ocean. Wow. That is insane to me. That's a small country, actually. Jeez. Wow, I can't. That's a lot to wrap your head around.
Kilometers to the ocean. So if you want an ocean view, move to Denmark, apparently. So what's the country really famous for in the world? Well, like most Scandinavian countries, it's known for its high quality
Well,
design
Legos.
and architecture. Brands like Bang & Olufsen are a major player in
Bang & Olufsen. My laptop I'm using is that. I have the HP Omen 15 over here. Bang & Olufsen. That's what's running my whole command center, actually. Interesting.
the sound business. But other than that, they also have the iconic red hot dogs called pulsa. And then there is Carlsberg, the world famous beer, who probably has the best slogan in the
Carlsberg, huh?
world. You see what I did there? What about celebrities or other famous people? One of the greatest writers, Hans Christian Andersen, is from Denmark.
Really?
And I'm sure you've heard about some of his tales, such as The Little Mermaid or The
What?
Ugly Duckling. Mads Mikkelsen is another famous person. The actor has been seen in movies such as Doctor Strange and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Or what about the American series Hannibal, where he played Dr. Hannibal Lecter himself? And let's not forget about the physicist Niels Bohr, who in 1922 won the Nobel Prize in Physics in recognition for his services in the investigation of the structure of atoms and the radiation emanating from them. All right, that's that. We
Well.
could probably speak for an hour more about this amazing country, but we promise you guys, we won't rant forever. Just a quick overview of each country in the world, for starters at least. Who knows what the future holds? What did you think of this video?
What did you think of this video, guys? Did you know any of that stuff? Very interesting. I didn't know how small it was at all. That's crazy to me to realize how small the country really is. 32.3 miles is the most it will take you to get to an ocean. So like the most inland part of the country is only 32 miles from the ocean. That is mind blowing to me, guys. Anyways, you guys take care. Have a super fun, awesome day. I'll catch you in the next one. Hit like, hit subscribe.